Well, peace, friends. I'm Pastor Tom Arthur from Sycamore Creek Church, and I lead the Reach team here at the Michigan Annual Conference. I'm with a lot of really awesome people today to talk about the upcoming Reach Summit here in Michigan, which will be a hybrid summit, both in person and online. Bishop Bard, we're super excited to have you here with us today.
Thanks, Tom.
I understand you're actually not in the state.
No, I'm in Minnesota. My other area of responsibility.
All right. Well, the Minnesota conference is welcome to join the Reach Summit. It'll be online this year. Evangelism and Justice is just as important in both states. My own district superintendent, Jerry Devine, is with us today. Thanks, Jerry.
Good to be with you.
And I've got a couple of the Reach team members with us today, Hahm and Kim Metzer. Paul, tell us, and Kim, where you're from, what churches you guys are at.
I'm at Orchard United Methodist Church in Farmington Hills.
And I am at Hastings Hope and Welcome Corners churches in Hastings, Michigan, not Minnesota.
Yeah, there is a Hastings, Minnesota as well.
Both of them need evangelism and justice, I'm pretty sure.
Indeed.
Hey, we want to just show the promo video first of what's happening at this year's Reach Summit, and then we're going to come back and talk about it a little bit, talk about how so you can get your church involved. And this is just a real quick jump on and let you know what's going on and talk about why it's important. So here's everything you need to know about the Reach Summit in just a couple minutes. Well, peace, friends. It's no secret that in this post-pandemic era, churches around the globe are struggling with fewer people coming back to church.
This year, we're thrilled to welcome Nona Jones as our Saturday keynoter. Nona heads global faith-based partnerships at Facebook and is also the founder of the new organization Faith and Prejudice. Nona will outline the huge opportunity that social media offers our churches to create social ministry. Take a listen.
When I was hired at Facebook, this is the reason why. Mark had a study commission to find out all of the different types of communities that exist in America, whether it was civic, parenting, fitness, etc. And what they found was of Americans reporting membership in institutional communities of faith, church, mosque, synagogue, etc. 3 out of 4 of them found those communities meaningful. Not only are communities of faith the largest communities, but they're also the most meaningful. But less than 2% of the 200 million Facebook groups on our platform are faith-based, and almost 0% are connected with a church. There are over 1 billion people using Facebook groups every day, and almost 0% on our platform are connected with a church.
Then she'll talk about how ministry and outreach must include learning how to bridge racial divides and promote reconciliation.
The Reach Summit also includes 2 very special speakers on Friday night, Rachel Gilmore and Paul Nixon, leading an all-summit workshop for everyone who attends. They'll help us explore the growing correlation between evangelism and justice, especially in our younger generations.
Saturday's events also include live and interactive workshops, including adapting to reach and disciple new people in a post-pandemic world with Debi Nixon from Church of the Resurrection, growing online faith communities with consultant Kathy Townley, growing young, restructuring your church to thrive, creating more compelling online content, and lay leadership and leadership in this post-pandemic era.
Reach Summit is still mostly virtual in 2021. All you need is a computer and internet access. Once you register, you'll receive an email that will describe all the details and directions for where to be and how to get there. However, this year you do have the opportunity to participate as one of 25 people in our live studio audience right here at Sycamore Creek Church in Lansing, Michigan. If you're interested, make sure that you sign up, register early.
See more details and register, visit reachsummit.org. Also be sure to check out the Reach Movement on Facebook. where you can find the latest news, videos, and webinars.
Who is God calling you to reach? And not only who, but how? Find out this year at the Reach Summit. All right. Well, hey, we are so excited this year. We've got just some amazing speakers. Nona Jones, of course, is our keynote speaker. She's going to be talking about from social media to social ministry to social justice. Paul Nixon and Rachel Gilmore are going to tie in evangelism and justice really closely together. Bishop, as Methodists, it feels like evangelism and justice go hand in hand. When you hear about that, how does that make you feel? What are you thinking about the importance of that topic for this year's summit?
I would agree. At our best, Methodism intertwines evangelism and justice, and it's unfortunate that at places in the life of the church, those two get separated. Some churches, faith communities, see themselves more focused on one or the other when it should be a both and.
Yeah.
And I think when I think of evangelism and justice, I really see, I have two thoughts come to mind. One is about justice and how we do evangelism. That is, we're called to reach out into our communities. And sometimes when people think evangelism and outreach, the people they picture are the people who are just like them, who are already sitting in the pews, whether that's the people in their community or not. And at its best, evangelism is reaching out into the community where you are and meeting the diversity of that community and finding ways not only to welcome them in, but to create a more beloved community.
Yeah, I love that phrase, beloved community. I mean, that's something, of course, Martin Luther King Jr. highlighted.
Yes.
Jerry, as you sit as the district superintendent of the Mid-Michigan District, how does evangelism and justice look like from your perspective?
When I think about the phrasing of those two together, the word that comes to mind is embodiment, the embodiment of love and relationship. Our churches were well trained how to nurture within their own circle for decades. But what they sometimes are in need of now is figuring out how to rediscover love in their communities, to get outside of themselves. God is love, and the only way someone's going to know if we are a follower of way is if we embody love in the way in which we interact with our community. And the more I show my community and the people within it that I care about the situations that are facing us, the more likely they are going to ask me about, why do you care? And that begins a relationship sharing about who Christ is for me and what he does to nurture love within my life.
Paul and Kim, you along with me have been on the front lines of this movement from church in person to online to hybrid amidst everything. Of course, Nona Jones is coming in to talk about that social media to social ministry, and she's got this whole social justice, faith, and prejudice thing. Give us just a quick, when you think about what's happening here at the Reach Summit with Nona and Paul and Rachel, what comes to mind for you?
I'll go. So as we were talking about this and deciding what we would talk about today, I was thinking about evangelism, and I talked to my church. I just picked up the second point of the church. So for 4 years, I've been talking to the Hope family about relationship and getting outside of our building. And that's where evangelism begins, is not in our building, it's out in our community. And it begins with relationship. And today I finished a 4-day devotional through the Bible app. It was written by Tony Evans, and it was about justice. And I just want to read part of it. It says, the Bible tells us to do good to everyone. So justice extends to anybody who is being treated unfairly. So when we see situations that aren't right, meaning they go against God's moral standards, it is our duty as believers to take action. We can't just talk about justice, we must do justice. That's why Micah 6:8 says, do justice. It does not talk about how we should feel or not feel towards justice. It just says that we are to do it. And and that just resonated deeply with me. So it's been a 4-year process to get our church to think that way, and starting now with Welcome Corners. And I think the best way to get them involved in the Reach Summit is just to, if you're clergy watching this, just sign up your church. It's $199 to sign up a group. Even Jesus had a group. You can't do this alone. So if you sign up as a group and get your 12 leaders around you to join in individually from their own computers, you will have a good start. If we get, I was just running some numbers. If we get 50 pastors and each of those pastors have 12 people that watch it, we'll have 50 pastors, 600 lay leaders, 650 people is a movement. And that's what we're about. There we go. Reach movement.
That idea that even Jesus had a group, that's spectacular, Kim. I can't think I've never even thought of that phrase, but I'm gonna start using that. Hey, Paul, as you look at this from your perspective, you're actually in a new church. Like, you just started in July, and you're thinking about evangelism, justice, social media. What are you thinking about with this coming Reach Summit?
I think social media is so important because it's a tool. It's not good or bad, but it's something that we can really use to harness to cultivate community within our church, and also to share what we are doing with the outside community as well. And so I'm pretty excited to hear about how not only me, but we as a church, we can use social media as a tool and as a platform to get the good word out. When I think about social justice and I think about evangelism, I think those two things go hand in hand. Evangelism is about sharing the good news, and the good news shouldn't be just for some people. It's for all people, but especially for those people who are disadvantaged and marginalized. And I believe that the church should be at the front lines of spreading that good news of justice and peace and equity. And so I'm really excited. And I think a lot of times people think that the topic of justice might be divisive, but I think we have to look at it from a faith perspective and see how the Gospels tell us that we need to be engaged in the world. Like Jesus says, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. We have to bring the kingdom, the reign of God here on this earth. And so I'm really excited to see how we can engage with our local communities as well.
This has been a passion of mine for a couple of years, and just really excited to put this together in this year's Reach Summit. Bishop Bard, Jerry, as you've seen churches over this last 18 months or so on COVID engage in social media, social justice, what are the ones that are, just real quickly, what are the ones that are thriving in the midst of that? And what are you seeing them focus on?
Bishop, I'll let you go first if you'd like.
Well, I do think, besides this pandemic time, we're also in a time where there's been significant work on or awareness of our need to do dismantling racism work.
Yeah.
And I think churches that have been doing well have been trying to integrate that striving for justice into their understanding of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. Evangelism is inviting people to follow Jesus, and an essential part of that is doing the work of justice. And I think the churches that are doing well are finding out how to connect people, yes, online, and inspiring them to think more deeply about what it means to be a follower of Jesus in light of all that's going on in the world around us.
Yeah. Jerry, what are you seeing in the Mid-Michigan district?
I think I'm seeing it in two different ways. Those churches that already had a kind of a core value system, that it's not simply about us, but it's about us connecting to the people that are outside of us and building bridge relationships, drawing people into faith and community together. Those churches already had a sense of wanting to find ways to connect out. So social media got started or expanded for each one of them, but they already had the value system, I think, and the vision and mission to reach out beyond their own circle. But the other place where I've seen it begin to transform some of our churches is through adequate food supply, which is a justice issue. It's an economic justice issue. It's a productivity issue in different regions. We have a lot of churches that in the past had hearts of compassion through providing adequate food availability for others. But during the pandemic, they had to really step back and to say, we care enough that we have to find new ways to do this and then to communicate with people. We are here with you. We will find a way to keep you connected to your sources of nutrition for your families. And because of that, their witness became even bolder and stronger, and more loving and embodied along the way.
Well, hey, I want to thank all of you for being with us today. This was just a quick kind of guerrilla marketing, getting the word out about the Reach Summit and about what's happening this year with the Reach Summit. Again, for those of you who are just checking it out, the Reach Summit is happening this year, October 22nd and 23rd. You can sign up online at reachsummit.org for a group at your church. It's $199 for your whole church. And you can do that. We have a 25 in-person kind of studio audience that will be with us. But you could grab your group in your church and set up a TV or a projector and do it right there in your church as a group. You don't even have to travel to Lansing. We're hosting it right here. You can always the video is always backwards in so I thought I was anyway. We'll be right here in Sycamore Creek's worship studio, broadcasting out. Nona Jones is our keynote speaker on Saturday. Paul Nixon and Rachel Gilmore are our workshop leaders, our all-conference workshop leaders on Friday night. We hope that you will join us. The Reach movement is building a movement of churches that grow and multiply. And the summit this year is about evangelism and justice and how with those we can grow and multiply. We'll see you in October.